I've already given you the answer by painting the picture, but what should I be looking to do if I receive a ball and I don't know what I'm going to do in terms of passing it off? What should I be doing now? No, but like, hello. What have I just said that is? What does every action cause? A reaction. So chances are the opposition. Why did Pep Guardiola get Barcelona, Bayern Munich to pass the ball? Why did they pass it? To keep possession? Why? To move the opposition, right? To move the opposition, to manipulate them. You understand what I'm saying? So if you watch Man City, everything's done to pass the ball. It's not a load of nonsense. Pep Guardiola said it's nonsense as opposed to taking back. It's not. You need to pass the ball. For me, Henry, Dominic, right now, why we're not going to be balling short circuits? Because we know we're going to draw people in, and then suddenly I'll drop one off to Fernandinho and I'll smash one over to De Bruyne and Sterling on the opposite flank. So what I'm saying to you, in that mindset now, if we've been knocking the ball short and I haven't seen a passing outlet, it would be because just to be on the safe side, because chances are what's coming towards us, the opponents. You understand? Right? The ball, speed of play, speed of thought, speed of play, speed of thought. It all starts in your brain. And that's why it's absolute nonsense when you hear people say, God, I want to get my teams to play this way. They play with their brain first, not on a tactic board.
Yes.
They play with their brain. They play with their brain. Sharper. Okay?
Ball here. Henry. Yes, sir. Yes. Hold. Yes.
Better.
Where
Where
you go?
now?
Yep.
Okay, good. It's again, I keep saying that, don't I? Good, because how do you know what my words are true? How do you know the players feel it? Yes, or you know what I mean? Well, look, we're not losing the ball. Look, it's forward. Look, I've got loads of options. It's up, yeah. Okay, it becomes an emotion kind of thing. That's how the elite coach get players buy-in. Right. Next question for you though. In relation when I get you to go 1-2, 1-2, count your feet in, what's some of the movements from a sports science standpoint do you think or look for that's not authentically happening in here? Here, alright, I'll tell you. Everybody's movement in grade has been a forward one. Agree? Yes. So could it be right now? What did I do there? What does it look like to the ladder? What does it look like? Yes, okay, so 1-2, 1-2. So I've gone there, opened up, big space bigger. Yeah? Method in the madness. I don't get you going through a ladder because it looks good. Why? Got to be education. What's my job? Coach. Educating. Yes? I'm not educating. I'm pretending to coach and I'm just managing you. Play. I'm fake.
Yes, sir.
Harsh but true.
So, Henry.
I will look around more. Look around more. Eyes, feed the brain, feed the body. Punch. Good. What can you see? Elvin, how would you move? How would you move? Eyes. Eyes. Good shot.
Stop, yes. Where's that? Alvin.
Punch. Where now?
Yes. Mommy. Yes.
There. Back foot. Keep the ball moving, Elvin, though. It's, yes. Goes round, go round. Look after it. Punch. Better. Come on your ball. Okay. And relax. So my next question then, what type of pass have we had 98.9% of the time? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a feat, thank you again, right? So again, how can we, number one, not up to, again, forgive me, the uneducated aspect would be, well, the pass and the ball has to look for that opportunity. Why do you pass the ball in front of me? What must I do for you to want to do that? What am I doing now? Yes, what's that space? So where do you think I'd want the ball? In front of me. What do we call that? Learning to, or being able to read. Yes? Again, forgive me, the uneducated would be going, oh, pass in front of me. Why? Right now, why would you pass in front of me? Right? Because again, this is where if you lost the ball, you couldn't have a communication with the coach because it would be like, why did you do that? Oh, well, I felt I should. No, I read. My eyes fed my brain, fed my body, and I passed the ball. So now what we're looking for is, can you create scenarios and situations to where the pass is in behind, immediate pass, movement, play. Off you go. Can we pass and move? Opportunities to play.
It's Friday. It's the end of the week for some, possibly the start for others. For us at Access Elites, it's the end of the week for school, but not the end of our training. Our training continues. Our training goes every day, nonstop, because our goal and our focus is not to be outdone. We're here to grow the neuroplasticity aspect of the game itself. Chess and checkers is played on the same board, squared, and multiple pieces in each square, right? The difference between the two games, however, is the mental aspect and acumen that is required to play chess as opposed to checkers. Not that checkers isn't hard in itself, but chess is definitely harder by de facto because the pieces have multiple abilities or actions that they can apply. Well, in the sport, regardless of the sport that you're playing, if you're not actually growing mentally in the understanding of the game, your physical limitations by default inherently will reach a limit capacity, period. We're humans, and no matter who you are, eventually you will reach that limit capacity, what your body can actually do. But the mind, however, the mind does not have limitations, and it can continue to grow as long as you feed it the right diet, meaning the right information and the right training. And that in itself, the mind will actually help the body compensate for those limitations that the body itself has enforced. I'll give you an example, I guess. I wouldn't be able to lift a 500-pound deadlift equipment right now. But if I learned the technique and I learned the proper methods and I obviously worked hard at it, I probably could. Why do I say that? Because some of the strongest men in the world are not truly because they're big and huge. It's because they've worked hard. They've developed a technique that has allowed them to progress and get better at their sport. Anyway, what am I talking about today? I'm talking about making a decision to stay focused and committed to your success, whatever that is. If it is in sport, however, it cannot be multiple sports. There is only one man that I know of was successful in two sports simultaneously, and most of you probably already know who that is, and if you don't, look him up. Big O Joe, right? So anyway, in the case of soccer or football, it's a worldwide sport. And in the case of the U.S., we are so far behind in respects to the world's scenario, not because we don't have the ability or the skills or the manpower to be able to get people to go to play. No, you know why? It's because we don't really have the dedication to apply what it's required to meet, if not exceed, the work those other nations do. Those other nations create players from a very young age, and they don't do anything else other than play that sport day in, day out, night, morning, afternoon, you know, whatever hour. If they're awake, somewhere along the line, they're touching a ball with their feet and doing something with it. So because of our society, because of the way we live our communities here in the US, we currently don't have that in place. And so we're restricted on many hours of the day or minutes. As I tell my son, there's 1,440 minutes in a day, and 600 to 720 minutes of that day are restricted where you just can't do anything about. What are those minutes? Depending on who you is, that is. Those minutes consist of sleep. Once you're asleep, there's absolutely nothing you can do other than dream of butterflies. So if you can't do anything for those minutes, then you're left with the remainder. If you sleep 10 hours a day, that's 600 minutes, and you're left with 840 minutes to do what you will with it. In the US, however, another thing that gets in our way as a teenager or as a child or an underage individual is school requirements. By law, we must attend school. And usually schools mean sedentary work where we're listening to a teacher teach us, you know, great stuff that will help us in our lives. As I tell my son, just because you're sitting in the chair doesn't mean your feet can't be moving. And so he's adopted some practices that he can continue to move his feet around and do some feet exercises while he's sitting there. Anyway, but once you get school in the way, depending on what school level you're at, you're going to be applying anywhere between 4 to 7 or 8 hours of your day working in school, if you call it that, right? And you're limited to then what's the remainder. If you got 7 hours, if you're a teenager like my son that goes to school from 9 till 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, now you're talking about 7 hours a day where he can't do anything other than sit, and hopefully he's applying his feet exercises to wiggle his feet around. Okay, in that particular case, you're talking about 420 minutes of time that he's lost out of the 840. So now he's got 420 minutes to do what? Usually it's going to be an hour's worth of homework, right? If you're a teenager like my son, you got about an hour's worth of homework. So boom, that's 60 minutes. Now all of a sudden you're down to 340 minutes to go, right? So in that particular case, 360 minutes. Now in that particular case, you got 360 minutes to go and hopefully, I don't know, practice. How many of you take those 360 minutes to practice your success story? For your success story, how many of you actually apply 360 days of the day to do whatever it is that you need to do to succeed in whatever it is that you're doing, if you're a teenager or whatnot? Well, I don't know of many. What you saw here earlier today, I see a full court of basketball, after school kids playing around, hanging out. There was a flag football, and I actually saw some of our athletes out there today, so I'll get with them next week. They were playing flag football. The elite players in the sport of soccer are worldwide, and they're currently being actually drafted as young as 16, 15 years old. They're being contracted to play the sport. But of course, those individuals have been playing the sport for years. And I'm not talking about like you and me living year to year. I'm talking about years of actually working morning, night, and day to get better at whatever it is that they're playing, right? If they're a forward, if they're a midfielder, they're a defender, if God knows what they want to do in the field, in the pitch, they're going to do it to the best that anyone can do it because they've been doing it for years. Now, that means we have a catch up to do. As a society, as a player, we got to play catch up. And if you're not actually practicing because it's Friday, because you've practiced all week. What is all week? Going to the club practice and you practice for an hour and a half for 1 or 2 times a week or 3 times a week, and all of a sudden you've practiced all week, so it's Friday, you got to take it easy. Okay, how does that make any sense? But if you're not actually focusing, you're not actually practicing, and you're not actually working towards your goal, then someone else is. I guarantee you, someone else is. And that person will surpass, no matter how much you have abilities, no matter how many abilities you have, no matter how skilled you are. Life is undeniable. You can be the most skillful player in the world, and you will be defeated by the hardest worker in the world. That's undeniable, because hard work always pays off. Skill is only good as long as you can actually apply it. But if you're not actually practicing and you're not working hard to fine-tune that skill and truly finesse it, how are you going to apply it? Folks, we're going to be here Monday through Friday after school. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at Odyssey Middle School. This is 4:30 to 6:30. Wednesdays is 3:30 to 5:30 because it's early release day. Ocoee Middle School, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4:30 to 6:30. Come on out here. It's extremely low cost in comparison to the actual diet that you're going to be getting, or your child is going to be getting, because you're probably already paying somewhere for your kid to go play and not truly gaining the benefit of that dollar. My son, and I don't mean to brag, but I will, he asked me to provide him the tools to succeed, because he wanted to be the best at what he was doing. I have hold him to it, and I hold him hard to it, of course. You know, my wife tells me I'm pretty hard on him, but you know what? That's what he asked for. So now I'm gonna hold him to it. Just 9 months ago, he was told he was nowhere near ready for the top level of that then low-end club. Okay? 9 months ago, folks. April of 2018, he was told that he was not good enough to be at the top level of that club. Not the top level of the sport, the club. And the club is, for me, to be honest with you, after I've done some education, and you probably will too, just found out to be third rate, to be honest with you. But we had to get our start somewhere. So he was told, let it go, calm down, no need to rush, you're not ready. Get back in the line, sit down just like the rest of the other players here, and it'll come. If you really are good, or if you're really destined to be somewhere, it'll come. I've never believed in that bullshit, and of course my son didn't either. Folks, that's 9 months ago. 9 months ago, he was a nobody. And for most of you, he probably may still be considered a nobody yet. But for a lot of you that know the sport, when you can go from a third-rate club to the DA level position, and now actually be a starter in that position, in that team, folks, that's definitely something worth to be bragging about, and I will. My son has taken his hard work, focus, and determination and succeed where others would have not had him do. Come see us. This is no joke. This is not fake. It's undeniable, as the coach says. You have to just make a decision and that decision has to come with consequences. And as long as you're okay with getting better at what you do, or your child is getting better at what he does or she does, then those consequences are feeling really good. That is my Friday night reflection and end of the week commentary. Come get some.
In terms of attention